Last month, former Prime Minister and PMLN leader Shahid Khaqan Abbasi said that there will be no more than 2 hours of power outages in the country from 30th June onwards. He had also hoped that the period of load shedding would be further reduced in July. We fast forward to 28th June when police used tear gas and bait charged protesting residents of Liari near the Moripur road, who took to the streets against K Electric. The police action came as demonstrators, who were protesting since last night, burned tires and blocked the road, which links the KPT and site industrial areas for traffic. The protest led to an elderly woman losing her life, but the police have denied this, stating that the woman had passed away due to natural causes. That protest ended later that evening after Karachi police met with officials from K Electric and assured protesters that the grievances would be addressed. But despite reassurances from high-ranking officials to the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif instructing his team to revise the policy of load shedding, what's the core reason for the load shedding and energy crisis Pakistan faces today? I spoke to Mr. Uwais Munshi, spokesperson for K Electric, to get their version on this.
Right, as I mentioned earlier, the shortfall between supply and demand persists on a 24-hour basis. So the average number that I quoted of about 450 to 500 megawatt shortfall on an average basis in these current circumstances persists during the day as well as during the night. And you have to understand that between day and night, the load of electricity shifts from commercial centers, where it's more densely concentrated perhaps, towards residential areas which are also consuming a significant amount of electricity, causing the demand for Karachi on average to remain more or less constant. In the current circumstances, there is a surge in demand in Karachi on account of rising temperatures. And alongside this, there is a curtailment in fuel supply which is affecting KE's ability to serve Karachi. On average, there used to be a shortfall of between supply and demand, which hovered around 250 to 300 megawatt. In the current circumstances, however, this number is approaching approximately 450 to 500 megawatt. And this shortfall persists on a 24-hour basis, which is why, unfortunately, it has become unavoidable to conduct nighttime load shed as well. To elaborate a little more, I'll share an example. Last year, at this point in time, K Electric was receiving about 200 million cubic feet of gas per day in order to maximize its generation capacity. In the current circumstances, we are getting approximately 90 mmCFD or million cubic feet per day, which is significantly less. And as a consequence, 2 of K Electric's generation power plants, one at site and one at Korangi, with a combined generation capacity of 200 megawatt, are non-operational. Alongside this, K Electric's ability to pay its fuel suppliers is also being affected due to delays in the release of tariff differential subsidy claims from the government, which have been pending for a while and are currently standing at PKR 25 billion. So I'd just like to clarify that this revised load shed plan has been in effect for under 48 hours. It was implemented on the 1st of July 2022, and due to limited and finite resources, K Electric has unfortunately had to rationalize the schedule, and this rationalization entails redistributing the load shed timings among customers, and this measure is being taken as a measure to provide relief to customers experiencing nighttime load shed. Now, one thing we'd like to clarify further is that this load shed schedule is in place and applicable on a daily recurring basis, but interruptions to the system can occur because of technical faults or because of routine maintenance operations, which we try to intimate customers about in advance. These should not be equated with load shed. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience our customers are facing, but we have to understand that currently this is a very difficult time for the country in terms of the power supply situation, and the global challenges on global economic challenges are creating vulnerabilities in the fuel supply chain, which is also affecting K Electric.
I asked Uwais Mir to shed some light on this crisis.
The demand surge is in a linear curve. It comes every year. So this is not the excuse of we have again, which is taken into the contention that the current issue revolves and bothers this one. Second would be about what is being mentioned about the feedstock, which is the gas, which is the curtailment of the gas which they have as a GC as a gas supply chain for them. Now, this is where again there is a love and aid between the KE as a power distributor and the gas transporter as Sui Southern has been going for almost like more than a decade. Unfortunately, and that's how we operate in the main cosmopolitan city power arena in a way that they, what I've been know, if I recall correctly, they don't have a conventional GSPA, which is a gas sale purchase agreement, on a new or constraint on new planned projects which KE did edit in their network in the last 5 years, for that matter, 900 megawatt and 560 megawatt probably 10 years ago, both in the both custom area. So that's something from the energy security point of view for the KE. That's a very, very inefficient overall system, both from the off-taker point of view as well as from the supply chain point of view. I have issue with the Suis, mainly Sui Southern, because of the some areas, some financial unevenness, vis-a-vis. At the same time, the KE as a private conglomerate or an integrated company which covers both transmission and distribution part or generation part, they should have their own dedicated supply chain. Now, what is the straight point is, to cut the long story short, they should have their own LNG terminal or their own gas mechanics or gas supply chain exists by now, since I know that they are talking this for the last 7-8 years about until since the time when the LNG lands here on ground. So this is again a very unfortunate phenomenon that people here, whether a conglomerate or either public sector or private sector, take things for granted. So this happens everywhere. So that's not something new. So one of the questions, if you be creating a perspective that you should have asked from the helm of affair, that what is the solution, what is the corrective measure, what you have done as of last year, anticipating that you will go through in this international recession phenomenon or in this energy crisis, we should be ready for that to address it. So answer of that is not.
Beyond taking steps to revive closed power plants, how does the Shahbaz-led government intend to address the current energy crisis? How does it plan to encourage distributed generation through renewable energy sources? Why doesn't the KE Electric implement a self-sustainable model despite being in the power sector for such a long time? Why is it still reliant on the federal government?